Hello, everyone. Welcome to this video where we're going to talk about development of kids. Now, Alois, we often get asked, what's the best way for kids to develop? It's a pretty general question, but have you got some tips for people out there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's I think initially it's about how interested the kid is in learning table tennis. So
Mm.
that for me that's the real underlying crux. They've got to be wanting to play the game. They've got to really love the game, and they've also got to want to be improving in the game. So for me, they're the big things to start off with. If they haven't got that, you know, how many times have I seen parents pushing their kids, and that sort of works. It works for a while. It works as in, the kid gets better for a while, but it usually doesn't last. And it's usually about then the kid, gets to a stage where they might have some bad results. They don't really want to be there, and then they just, basically pack it in, and it becomes pretty ugly at that stage. So I think,
Mm.
that real interest, fun, passion for the game is the base to start off with.
And so what are some good ways to develop that? So say a kid was just starting to play table tennis. I guess there's some extremes, isn't there? Like, do you just let them play? Are you trying, like, what's the balance between training, so like getting them to actually practice just forehand to forehand to forehand, or different drills as opposed to playing? And surely there's some kind of balance there. I'm not sure.
Well, the only thing is if you are dragging a kid to the hall to do 500 forehands and they're just not interested in doing 500 forehands, that's part of it too, So again, they've got to discover that that interest and how they're going to improve. If they're really interested in improving their game, they'll start to come to the stage where they think, oh well, hang on, my forehand didn't work that well in the game. How do I get better at it? And
Mm.
so it'll really start to lead from their experiences in the game initially, and then they'll start to get led towards whether the training as we know it. But initially it really, there needs to be just that, lots of playing, lots of experimenting, lots of enjoying the game, lots of just playing lots of games. They'll
Yep.
invent games. They'll invent things to do with the sport as well.
Yeah, I saw an interview recently with Kevin Peterson, who is a great English cricketer, and he was saying, was it Kevin Peterson? I don't know. There was a couple of cricketers on there, and I'm not sure if it was Kevin Peterson or Adam Gilchrist. I think they were together being interviewed, and one of them said that their dad used to just let them, for a particular part of their training, just hit the ball as hard as they could without worrying about getting out. And it was kind of, they said that was the fun part of it, and they really enjoyed that part of the training. So I guess that
Yeah.
backs up what you're saying there. You've got to have a fun element to it.
Yeah. So Jeff, when you started playing, what was your experience? What drew you into wanting to get better and
Yeah, that's a good
be the player?
question. It's so long ago, Alice, and my memory's not very good. Um, but I started playing at school, and then I'd go around to my friends after school, and we would play a lot. And then he was the one that suggested we go down to the table tennis club.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we went to the table tennis club, and I just saw how good the players were, and I was like, man, they are so good. I want to be like them.
When you were playing at home, what did
Yes.
you do? Did you do any drills?
No, no, just games. Just game,
Yeah.
no drills at all.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, isn't it? Like you just developed the passion for playing the game because you just enjoyed playing the game, and you wanted to just get better at the game, and then that drew you to the club, where then you might have got some other ideas and advice about how to improve your skills.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah.
And often we get questions from parents, saying I've got a 4-year-old child or I've got a 5-year-old child, and and I want them to get better at table tennis, and I'm doing, an hour on the table with them, and this and that. And I think, my response is always, let them play. Make sure they're enjoying it. Make sure that they are really wanting to improve at the game themselves, because otherwise you're going to waste 5 years of your life, just chasing a kid around, and pushing them towards something that they don't really want to do.
Yeah, very interesting. And a film that I really like is called Searching for Bobby Fischer. I think it might be called Night Moves in America, but it's about this chess prodigy, and it's based on a true story. And it's based on this chess prodigy, and he goes to chess tournaments. And at these chess tournaments, the parents are all there, and the parents are all getting so nervous about what's happening with their kid. And eventually, it gets so bad because the parents are having fights that the organizers just say, "Right, that's it," and they kick all the parents out, and then the children just play and they enjoy the game.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to be said for that, isn't there? I mean, it's about the kids just learning and enjoying, and we see it often in kids sport, where the parents will go in and try to boost their child up the rankings, or find ways to manipulate things that their kid gets more opportunities or this and that. I mean, and in the end, it just never helps. The kid will find their level when they find their level, and they'll often they'll just resent opportunities that they know that they don't deserve themselves anyway. So I think the less that parents are pushing, the better it is for the child.
Yeah, so I guess the problem is we see some counter examples, like in tennis you saw Andre Agassi and his dad would push him, and then obviously great film out now, King Richard, talks about Richard Williams, the father of the Williams sisters, and how he had this plan for them to become the greatest tennis players ever, and it looks like it worked for them. So you kind of think, well, if it worked for them, shouldn't it work for everyone?
Yeah, but Agassi, I mean, now talks about how he hated playing. I
Yes.
mean, sure. I mean, he did become a great tennis player, but that's not really, for me, that's not really what it's all about.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're putting your kid through 10 years of hell, I mean, is that worthwhile in the end anyway?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting. And,
yeah.
and then
So
the other thing I think about that is that worked from them, but that's only like two examples. How many examples were there of parents pushing and it didn't work, and then the relationship was just ended up being really uh, not a good relationship? We don't hear about those stories because they weren't successful.
yeah, that's right, and I think that's really really good point. Yeah, I mean, there's always those examples of this happened and this worked, but I mean, I've seen numerous examples of the opposite. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it. So if you're a parent out there, and I know it's so difficult because you just want the best for your kid, and that's and you honestly have that in your mind, which is great, but I think it's really important to just look through the eyes of the kid as well, and see what are they chasing? What are they really wanting? Because that's the thing that will that really burning motivation inside is what's going to get you firstly to enjoy what you're doing, and secondly, you will naturally improve if you've got that deep burning desire to want to improve as well.
Yeah, yeah, good advice. And I'm not sure where I picked this advice up from, if I read it somewhere or someone told it to me, but I remember saying that as a parent, what you should do is if you want to go watch your kid, you go watch them, but watch them from a distance. So you don't have to be right there in their face. Go somewhere where they almost can't see you, but you can watch that. And then after the game, you don't even need to talk about it. You can just go home and just talk about anything. And if they want to talk about it with you, they will. But if you just start saying what happened here, what was this, you're just adding pressure to the kid that's not really helpful.
Yeah. I remember talking once, Jeff, about perhaps putting the parents in a room, like in those detective detective questioning rooms where there's the one-way glass.
Yes.
So the parents can look in, but you can't hear them, you can't see them. Maybe that could be, perhaps a solution. Difficult to do on a football field or a cricket pitch or a baseball field or something like that. But
yeah, it might work for table tennis depending on how big the hall is. Interesting.
Yeah. But I guess the message really is, just allow your child to play, allow your child to learn and discover and make mistakes and win and lose, especially. And then, if they've got that real passion, and again, we often get the question about how do I motivate my student, and my answer is always you don't. It really needs to come from them. The motivation needs to come from them. Sure, you're responsible for setting up good environments for them to practice in and interesting ways for them to practice, etc., and to make it interesting and really fire that passion. But yeah, it's not about going and motivating them, like, come on, you can do it. I mean, yeah, just doesn't hold any weight really in the end.
Excellent advice. Well, we've covered a lot, Alois. I think this is going to be interesting for a lot of people. Hopefully you enjoyed. So thank you for that discussion.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.